50,000, even 30,000 supporters, tribal supporters, especially on an away match, then it's tough. And we probably don't, as fans, we don't really think too much about that side of it, um, because we don't visibly see it. So
Mm.
yeah, football is a tough game, and therefore the more so if you've been bought for quite a high fee or a very high fee, so that instantly puts an expectation on you because you say, well, someone has deemed you fit to be worth X million pounds, and if you have a couple of stinkers at first, and you're confident, once that confidence drops slightly, or more than slightly, then you really want to hide. You don't want to be out there. You want a hole to open up. So I only say all that in almost in defence of those people we've talked about and do
Mm.
talk about, where we say, well, they're not really producing. They're not giving us the goods. They're not scoring the goals. It's easy to say, and okay, we can also say, it's a tough life. That's all they've got to worry about with their earnings and their lifestyle. It's not all about money, but the lifestyle they have, never having to go and sort of work in tough, 9, 10 hours a day conditions. It's not a bad life if that's all they've got to, but it's still a tough life in many ways. We underestimate the physical the physical effect on the human body, even of very fit footballers, which is why at this time of the year, when the teams have got lots of games, Palace are playing tomorrow night home in the conference, the Euro Conference League, and then our next game is 48 hours or less later on Saturday. In fact, on Saturday we're playing up at Leeds at 8 o'clock kickoff, and tomorrow night's game, I think, is quarter to 8 or 8 o'clock at Palace. So
Mm.
48 hours, which normally they try and give you 3 days. And after that, after Saturday, Palace's next game is at Arsenal on Tuesday, 3 days, in the Carabao Cup. And then it's a break until Sunday, just after Christmas Day, in the league again.
Mm.
So and for all the clubs, particularly if you are in Europe, as Palace are, there's a huge number of games, and that takes a heck of a toll on the human body, even the fittest people. So, yeah, I'm never surprised when we do hear that a player is not producing his usual his performances, particularly if he's been bought like Delap on the expectation he'll be making and scoring goals, and it's not happening. But I think they go through these phases, and I don't generally think a good player worthy of a big fee, but one good top club wants from another club. I don't think they can suddenly become bad players overnight. There's one or
Yeah.
two when I look back in recent times who I would say, and I don't want to say the name. We've talked about him before, but
Mm.
but I don't know how the amount paid for him was paid because I've never seen him have a good performance. Now, just because I haven't, he's not my team, so I don't see him regularly. But I know we've talked about him and others have. He still might have a lot in him that we don't see. But
Yeah.
there is the occasional player who doesn't live up to his hype, to his expectation. Generally, I think when players are bought for a lot of money, they are good players and they do eventually come good. But yeah, I do have a sympathy with players like Delap. He'll know only too well of these stats that you've mentioned, not
Mm.
least from his manager, from the coaches. Hey, come on, Delap, you've got to do better than this. And that pressure is always there, but that's why they earn the money they do. They're performing at a very high level in front of a lot of baying supporters. So, yeah, I have sympathy with the guy. I've always thought he's a good player. I have, and I think he'll be fine.
Mm. Well, to have pressure on you, for one, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to have pressure or an expectation for you to produce a certain result at a certain rate, if you know what I mean. I mean, I've been at the receiving end of that where I worked in this, nothing compared to football, but I worked in this call center in London when I was in college. And every time I go into work, I'm sort of really anxious. At one point, I thought I had anxiety because the manager will come breathing down your neck. Oh, it's been 2 hours now. You've had no,
Yeah.
you've had no leads. They call it. You've had no leads. It's been 2 hours now. What's happening? I mean, and and every time I dress up to go to work, I'm thinking, I don't like this job, and I don't want to be there. And it wasn't because I didn't have um, the motivation to go to work. That wasn't it. It was the pressure that I was getting from work,
Mm.
where you have to produce this result. And so when I think about footballers and the pressures, where people put up stats saying, "Oh, this person is this and that," you think, well, think about the work that this person's put in. It's the result that matters at the end of the day,
Yeah.
don't it? Unfortunately, but yeah.
And of
Now,
course, as well as that, though,
yeah.
sorry, just to say, as well as that, we said earlier that managers, what have they got to go on? The training and the matches and so on,
Mm,
and other things they may know about them. But the other thing that adds to that pressure that you've mentioned these days is, of course, they all wear these things on top which monitor them.
all
A
right,
bit like a
yeah.
bra, isn't it? When you think about it, it's all around their top, and
Yeah.
it monitors all these statistics, like how far they've run in a match and what speed they've run, and it kind of covers like you're on an exercise bike at home. It will
Mm,
give you all the information, and it's great if it's positive. But then all of your numbers are being compared to the rest of your team, especially those in your position, and no
mm,
one wants to come out. Oh, I didn't run so far today. I mean, I know of one of the games recently, Adam Walton, he was like 2 kilometres further he'd run in a match. It was
mm,
about 8 or 10, I can't remember, which is about 5, 6 miles than his nearest rival, like a couple of kilometres more. So there is all this added pressure on people to perform, and as we know, whether it's a call centre, whatever your job, someone's paying you money to work for them. Certainly in football, then there's a high expectation of performance that people are
mm,
expected to get those leads you mentioned, to perform on the football pitch. And
mm.
maybe ultimately, I don't know, as humans, do we give the best account of ourselves when we're under pressure? My instinct is to say, yes, we do. When our back is against the wall,
Mm.
and